I've talked about this a little bit, and I'm going to be brief about this, but I have seen even spiritual leaders, spiritual teachers, authors, even some of these that are friends, act in the strangest ways, like where we might have assumed that they would have been more communicative about some issues that came up between them and friends of mine or whatever it may be. There's times where you might have expected people, your partners, your children, your parents, you might wish that they would communicate more, and it's just not always the case. In fact, it's rarely the case. It's hard for people to want to talk. It blows the ego out of the water. It puts everybody in a very scary position to have to talk, because with the talking could come rejection, and it's really hard for people to accept rejection. But you would think that spiritual teachers and so forth don't have that sort of fear, but it's there. Plus, sometimes there's if a spiritual leaders or teachers or ministers or authors or whatever, if they think they're better than everyone else, then they're not really going to want to talk, because it sort of makes them feel like they're being questioned. So that's another ego perspective. But something amazing happened for me recently. Someone, a spiritual teacher of sorts, that I requested to come to this area. I won't say who it was or when it was, but someone that I asked to come to this area, and it was amazing because I have invited people before and welcomed people before and all that. And all too often, there's a tendency where they ended up being very, very selfish, where the teacher becomes the teacher / narcissist, and like husbands and wives and people we've married and trusted. The worst side sometimes comes out, and it's really a bit shocking. And I've said this many times too. Boy, it really makes us tempted to say, oh my God, never again. I for one love simple. I love a simple life. I love let's be clear in communication and all that, to the best of my ability. There's times when it feels like communication isn't the best choice for you, for me, or whomever, and we need to respect that. Sometimes communicating with people, what we're going to try to communicate, they may not understand, or it may be too complicated. In my life, a lot of times I chose not to communicate. Not that I didn't do it a lot of times. What I'm saying is, of the percentage of times when I didn't, a lot of the percentage was where I knew it could hurt other people if I were to implicate certain people or name certain people. So there's times when I or we could really justify backing off on communication. It's just what it is the greater good. So don't think that you must get everybody to communicate. Also, don't think you should always run from it. But it's kind of what's the greater good? And bloody hell, if you're at all spiritually mature, I mean, my God, let's get our act together and just do our best to communicate. But this guy that I invited to do some things within the next year or so, the only word I can think of, it was so cute that he did this. It's not just cute, it's profound, it's amazing. Because previous people I had seen, some of them, were so, were just sort of, ego-centered, and wouldn't comply, wouldn't work with other people, wouldn't stick to rules, procedures, policies, or whatever that they were involved with. And one of them, this person said, they contacted me and said, listen, when I'm in your area, would it be okay if I take off for a while and go and visit another group? It's a group that's involved with his particular study. I mean, I just sat there and thought, oh my God, a spiritual teacher with integrity. I mean, I know that sounds strange, but in my experiences, I've seen it all and heard it all. And I thought, oh my God, a communicator, I love this. And I just said, you know what? You may not understand why I'm saying this, but that is the most beautiful thing that you even asked, and they were like, oh, okay, thank you, but I love that it was natural to them. And the studies that they're involved with, you would almost expect such a thing. But again, many times when I've expected such things from friends, from teachers, authors, whomever, it's not what I saw. We need to sort of stop getting shocked and so forth. And I need to stop getting shocked over such things. Because I've said many times, I'm probably easily more impressed with students on the path that really get it. They too could get triggered now and again at some point in my communications with them, but there are people, like I just had my 5-day mastery class, and oh my God, there were a couple of people in particular, all of them were great, but a couple in particular, that they were so sincere, that they were listening, they were getting everything. Many of the people in the group, for that matter, just to see the amount of absorption and integration and responsible behaviors. I think there's only one person that sort of tripped a little bit, and sort of let their ego get the best of them, and they started, the rumor has it that they started sniping a little bit about whatever, just getting kind of, funky about not agreeing with some of the things I believe in or whatever, which is all fine and dandy, but, it's not what we agree on in these classes. People are supposed to be responsible and communicate. If they have struggles, they're supposed to communicate. So just know, again, this even, happens for me, with me, from me, and so on. But, it is a bummer at times, to find that folks might not choose to, to communicate. But addressing this directly for you all, like I said, we're tempted to give up. You can be tempted to give up on friendships. And those of you who are writing and calling, there's no one thing I could talk about category-wise, like family or just partners. You guys seem to be communicating about a lot of things, a lot of variables of different types of relationships. And like I said, one important thing, when they don't go well, please do your best to not give up on everybody, on all relationships. It's been such a weird month. Sometimes I just sit and think, wow, no matter what communication, no matter what attempt, people misunderstand or take things differently, and can kind of freak out, and it's really a shame. And I'm talking about business things too, like you have to get an electrician to come out and work on the place. He says, the job will take $100, let's say. You hear him say the job will take $100. What he then could say later is, what I said was, it'll be $100 for me to even come out to your house. Your bill is $1,000. Well, what do you do with that? What do you do with that if you're on retirement money and you don't have that? All of a sudden you're terrified. And then you got sometimes you got these guys, these brutes, man, kind of bullying you into whatever. I hear this, I see this. There's a couple times, here and there that I sit with people and talk and listen to some of the stories, and I'm a little surprised at the things they run into. Not surprised, but surprised, So be careful not to give up on everybody, and be careful to remember, whatever we're giving up on would be ourself anyway. You give up on me, you're giving up on yourself. You give up on Joe Blow, you're giving up on yourself. That doesn't mean wait around till they change either. It sounds like a contradiction. It isn't. It's just a little bit of a paradox. It's an absolute truth. If you give up on anyone, hate anyone, it's tempting to give up on your child when they go in, 3 times, 5 times, 8 times into rehab, only to jump the fence, get out and come back to your house, want more drugs and more money or whatever. It's very difficult not to give up. You can give up, but don't think that you're only giving up on another person and that person's a failure. They still represent a part of us. And that's one reason why I've had friends around me sometimes saying, why do you keep putting up with that certain employee or that certain friend or that certain partner or that certain whatever? I've had that in my life, consistently through my life. One is I have to consider the source of who's complaining, because they have their own jealousies and agendas. So I have to take that into consideration. At the same time, at face value, why do you keep trusting this person or, letting this have another chance? And I often never sit around and explain it to them, which might even make them think I'm being rude or lacking communication, which isn't the case. It's just sort of hard to explain. And I don't want to come across like I'm preaching, and I definitely don't want to come across like I'm wronging them for not being able to do a better job themselves. So I err towards less information, but in case it helps you, and anyone else that's known me for that matter, why I don't give up on people is because I know that they represent a part of me and a part of the whole global humanity. So I just feel like if I give up on them, then, who's going to give them a second chance, third chance? I mean, if I give up on them, who's going to keep trusting them, giving them, showing them some faith? Now, if you have that state of mind, be careful of this. Sometimes we have to watch, because if we think, well, if I give up on them, they will have no one else to trust them or to give them a shot. Be careful. Understand that God will find someone else for them to learn their lessons. You have to realize that we can show a lack of faith if we overly trust that, keep giving somebody 100th time. Somebody, the people that bring up complaints 1,000 times about you teach a certain way or you wrote a certain book and they don't like it, and they've told you this 100 times. I had a family member tell me one time things that they absolutely didn't like about me. And I listened to it, and it was hard to hear these bizarre complaints and projections and whatever. But I just said, okay, let's just be clear. You said all this, right? Yes, I did. And you said it all clearly, right? Yes. Is there any more you still have to say? No, I've said it all. Excellent. And you were clear though, right? Yes, I was. So now we both agree you were clear, and you will never have to tell me any of that again. So don't tell me that again, because they had already told me all these opinions 1,000 times. So you have to draw the line for yourself. Where are the boundaries to be drawn? There's nobody that says, here's where they're drawn, because boundaries are never a here, a that, a this. It's never a box. They flex, they change mutably, and also they're not set by a rule or by a person, certainly not outside yourself. It's something you have to ask yourself. You have to check in and say, okay, I've given this person a 4th chance, maybe a 5th. Don't think the number of chances is where you draw the line. Okay, 7 chances, that's a cosmic number. It's a very cool number. After 7 chances, I draw the line, or 12. There's a complete number. 12, tribes of Israel, 12 signs of the zodiac and all that. You can't do that, because you don't know if the lesson should have been learned by chance 2 or by chance 22. All we can do, in my opinion, is our best. And if you've done your best, my God, let yourself off the hook. If you do your best and something still changes, then mourn the loss. There will be divorces, there will be endings of partnerships, and so on. And even kids, you sometimes take a break, because whatever you're trying to say, if they're not hearing it, it can do more damage than good trying to explain it again and again. You will be tempted to get frustrated and judge. That's dangerous. But also, if it's falling on deaf ears, then, what can you do? There's all kinds of stories in the Bible about that sort of thing. Not casting pearls before swine. It's what Jesus or Christ or God wants us to hear is this. When it comes to casting pearls before swine, it's like Jesus says in the Course of Miracles about the crucifixion. Even if I say, forgive them, they know not what they do, I'm not judging what they do. So it's a difficult one to soak in. But what I mean is, even if I draw the line and say, look, if we can't do this or that, then, let's try something else. Let's talk about it, or let's give up on it. Whatever we're going to do, let's just be clear about it. Know that we've done our best. And I've said this so many times. You guys have heard me say, if you've done your best, that's the best thing. You've done your best, then that's the best thing. Why go, I've done my best and I should have done more? What would more be if you've done your best? Doing your best does not mean you should exhaust yourself. Things are going to happen on planet Earth. And sometimes, you run into the burning building and save some people, but you couldn't save them all. I would be pissed at myself if I were being honest with you. I would. I'd have a hard time just going, well, I've done my best. I guess a few people will just have to take the hit and die. I, Michael, would have a hard time with that. I'm not saying I wouldn't get over it. I wouldn't know what to do about those thoughts. But what I'm saying is we all have them. And I would get a little like, damn, could I have done a little more? Because I look at life and say, I am only here for so long. Let me do my best. Let me do all that I can in a situation. And I'm sometimes just startled at the idea that other people around me don't often know that I'm doing my best. And when they say, oh, you've given up, I'm just shocked sometimes, because they have no idea what extents, what lengths I've gone through to repair something or help something along. But I've said it, and if I have clients and they're able to hear me, I'll talk like these kinds of talks. I could do this for 3 days without thinking twice about where's dinner. I could do this forever because I get in the zone and I do my best to live in the zone, and I just do my best to give. And let me just keep giving. At the same time, what would happen if I said, let's keep filming? What about the other people, like the person, that ends up holding the camera or editing videos or down the road, or, is doing all the internet work? Or what about somebody watching and wants to hear what I'm saying? What about them when they say, well, my partner's waiting for me, we're supposed to be going somewhere. So even when we're doing good, it can be an inconvenience on other people's lives. So a lot of you say, oh, please keep sharing, please keep talking. At the same time, my technicians are going, don't talk for this amount of time and definitely talk more than that. So there's the mundane details of life that I have to deal with and adhere to as best I can. But to do that, it means not like, darn it, I'm really angry that the internet won't allow us to do these little chats longer for whatever reasons beyond my interest or knowledge. Instead of being frustrated that they can't do better or more, I just love doing it what we do. And those of you who say, oh, please share some more on this and that, there's a lot of things I've already shared, and if you want something, you could send in a message and I can continue and talk about that some other time. But if it were up to me, I could do this around the clock and sit in this same position. My legs could go numb and I won't know it till I go to get up. So I just keep going. So I believe that we should and could do our best in life, in every situation, in every relationship. Even when you're making your own or someone else's dinner, do the best you can. But the word best is the key. Know your limits. Know yourself. The old saying, know thyself. The Taoist saying, to know others, you're very amazing, you're wise. To know yourself, though, you're enlightened. There's a huge difference. One means you know stuff, and it means you see people, you know people, you can read people. The other is the self-exploration, the ability to know yourself. And one of the things you'll find when you know yourself is, know your limits. But I have to add this seeming contradiction again. Know your limits, but where do you draw the line? Whatever you perceive to be a limit, or a boundary even, there's always a calling inside that says, can you just go a tad further? Not more than you can handle, but is there more you can do to learn more, like to stretch your understanding of things? That's going to be a tough one for some folks to understand, but in that, all I'm saying is, if I reach my patience level and only go there all the time, then my patience never increases. So I would like to go to my patience level and then just see what else is beyond, just for my own learning, our own learning. So keep that in mind. When I say boundaries, don't take it too literally and think, Michael talks all the time about don't. That's not what I say. I'm actually saying do your best. But know when the best is now reached as best you can, know that. But also even when your best is reached, for your sake, for other people too, if they don't get it, then don't cast pearls before swine. Don't take that too literally, like as a condescending thing, because you're not wanting to think of other people as swine. That metaphor simply means, I'll change the wording now. Sometimes the things you're trying to say, they're not wanting to hear, or they can't hear. Their whole vocabulary might not hear it. Their culture in them may not hear it. Their past programming in them may not hear it. Their gender in them may not hear it. There are things that some people just won't get. Do you actually think that makes them bad? I hope not. And if you think that means they're lesser than us, that would be silly. It's just not happening now. And no, the good news is, just like I was talking about that limit, and can you believe a little further? Know that even someone you don't like, if they've passed away or just are out of your life, and you think, good riddance, because they don't get it and they don't believe the way I believe, and they were a terrible partner. fine, believe that and get your divorce, do what you need to do, but do not believe you're better than, but also know that their day will come to wake up. They may not believe the way you believe. So what? Their day will come to reach God in their own way. If you don't believe that, that's what I meant by not going just a little further than your own personal belief systems. So just as I thought, oh God, I've got to be so careful about recommending teachers because they're really, so many of them are just not there. And let me say, there are some, we can all disagree. It's not like I disagree with them just because I don't agree with their brand of toothpaste. I'm talking about big things, moral things, and even that's mutable or subjective rather. I wrote a book on sacred sexuality, and some teachers out there are thinking I'm a complete moron, and that doesn't mean I am just because our beliefs are different. I'm talking about being hurtful and not caring for the sake of money, for the sake of fame or whatever. I don't dig that. I think it's ridiculous. And so we part ways, a lot of these people. But I've known many teachers. And I may not agree with their brand of toothpaste, and I may not agree with whatever else in their life, and that's my problem. If some of the things they do are on a personal level are different than me, what do I care? That's totally their business. I'm only talking about if things get really excessive, then I kind of, I sometimes have to draw the line. But I tend to do my best to try with these people, and see what I can do to loop it back around to some healing. Teachers I admire, Alan Cohen, great guy. I'm sure, like I said, I could say he should part his hair differently. Who cares? Great guy, really does live a vast majority, I'm sure, if not everything, that he teaches. Great soul. Dan Millman as well, I think is a great soul. I've met many men and women teachers that I thought just had such a beauty to them that I just sit in awe, and I just love when people are really living the life, and I love doing my best to live the life. It's a drag when people sometimes give up on us or don't understand our angle or some of what we're saying or doing, but if I've communicated, then I know I've done the best I can, and I hope you get that too. But those teachers like Dan Millman, God, I've seen that guy go out of his way and really shine. Stories I've shared. I'll only be brief with this because time's running out. But I remember a kid that was in a lot of trouble. He was in the trouble with drugs, the law, and everything else. And he was friends with somebody that I knew. And and this person brought this kid around, just to meet me and say hello. So I was saying hello, and they said, I heard you know Dan Millman. I said, yeah, I know Dan. And they said, oh, wow, that person, when I was suicidal, I read that guy's book, his classic, Way of the Peaceful Warrior. And he said, and it kept me from killing myself, and it changed me quite a bit, I said, wow, that's amazing. So we were sitting in a restaurant, I think, and then the kid went and got a drink or something, came back and sat down, and my phone rang. And I picked it up and I said, hello. And I said, oh yeah, hold on. And I said, it's for you, to the kid. And the kid looked like he was embarrassed, like, oh my God, bill collectors found me through you, like he doesn't even know me, but his guilt and his conscience made the presumption that this is bad news, And I said, it's for you. And the poor kid, he almost dropped dead. And he gets the phone, he goes, hello. And the voice said, hi, this is Dan Millman. And this kid's face just, it's like God, And that's why I said teachers have to, do their best just to be nice people because we're representing something good, And again, we can make mistakes, but we just try to do our best. And anyway, the guy said, this is Dan Millman. The kid's face just went into shock. And Dan took a minute to talk to him. When the kid went to get a drink, I dialed Dan. I said, Dan, would you be willing? And that's the kind of guy Dan is. That doesn't mean I hand out his phone number, because let's pretend I handed out Dan's number to 1,000 people and only 1/10 of them called him. He's eventually not going to be happy about that. And is it because he's a bad guy? No. He would draw a line and say, you know what? Even to me, Michael, I'm not going to give you my number anymore because what you did was, hurtful to me. And he would be right. So we have to be careful, because even spiritual teachers, even you and I, we have to draw a line somewhere. But can we keep going? Can we try and can we communicate? If stuff's going on in your life, like all these other folks that are connecting with me and sending me messages, God, I'm so sorry about it, because sometimes I sit, man, on my own and just think, I wish I could do more to help people. A lot of people are struggling. This is one of the only things I can do, is to reassure you and let you know this too shall pass. And in closing, I'm going to say this. Let's be there for each other through these times. Abandon each other, and I think with that is carried not karma, because then that implies what you did was bad, but what you carry is your own guilt or your own lessons continued, through you. So be careful. Be there for each other. I mean, let me send questions so I can help. Don't end up alone. If you've lost a loved one, or if someone's passed away in some other form, or instead of passing away, maybe just exited your partnership or whatever it was, your kids for some reason throw a tantrum, they don't want to talk to you. I'm very sorry. I know that's hard. That's why I've done books and courses on forgiveness and so forth. We just finished our Love and Forgiveness course. We were thinking of doing one more class next Wednesday as a just a sort of an overview, but we're not going to be having that one because my staff is all maxed out. They're needing to get a bunch of other things going. So we won't have that, but please do what you can to be there for each other. I have the Friends of Michael Mirdad Facebook page where people reach out to each other quite nicely and quite mutually and equally. It's not a Michael preaching or teaching kind of a site. It's where we're all sort of, touching base. It's not all bad news, like people just sharing troubles. People are also sharing amazing insights and questions and so forth. So it's really great. That's one site anyway. But whomever you have out there, whomever are your friends, your spiritual family, man, try not to lose them. Because if let's say I myself were to say, I don't like certain things about the publishing world, and if I stop publishing books, I have to weigh in there that some people learn and grow from the books, even if there's something challenging. So the publisher could say, we're raising the rates of publishing, and I could say, that's it, I'm never printing another book. I could also say, what can I do to help? Do you need to raise your rate? Yeah, but you already know that we raised our rate last year, and most authors don't want to pay anymore. I might say, no, I'll pay more. If that's what you guys need for helping you, I'll pay more. And then maybe I'll have to raise the rate of the book, or maybe I'll keep it the same and just make less on it. That's okay too. What can we do to help each other? Love is an action. Love is something, remember that love is a consciousness. It's not a romantic term. It's a consciousness, man. So everybody needs to grow up and wake up. Love is a consciousness, and all consciousness has some form of power, right? Think about that. Therefore, love is the consciousness that has the greatest power of all, even on earth, because God and love are the same. But if God is too much of a term for some people, try to understand that love is powerful. The power of love. And don't say you know or believe anything about love if you don't know how to practice forgiveness. Don't say that you know how to practice forgiveness if you will not communicate. It's all contradictory. There's this flow. God, love, right? All the way through. Forgiveness, just love forgives. It's what it does. Love forgives. So if love forgives, then what form will it take? My forgiving you is leave and never talk to me again. That way I'm forgiving you. That's not forgiveness. Love could be instead, I'm forgiving you and I'm here if you need me, or I'm here, I'm willing to talk. I'm here if you need whatever it is, a person might need, as best I can within my limits. I'm here, That's kind of a cool statement. So if you part ways with a boss or your business associates or your partners, your children, your parents, whomever it is, what I've always done is to say, if there's something I can do that's healthy oriented, I'm here. Which means I never completely say no to anybody when it comes to love and forgiveness. I would never not deny anybody forgiveness, which also means that I will not deny them communication if there's any way to make that happen without it becoming, contrary to the greater good. Because like I said, there's times rarely, but there's times when I just say it's best not to even bother, because it'll take too much time or effort, or you won't understand. It'll make it worse, or hurt somebody, or whatever. There's times, but just try. God is love. Love is the consciousness of God, and love forgets, forgives, and forgiveness demonstrates itself through patience, tolerance, healthy tolerance, communication, and so forth. So do your best to stay in the zone with all these things. I'm not saying you have to go and call back the person you had a falling out with last month, or whenever your challenges were arising. It may be that it's gone too far, but if you can redeem things, redeem them. If you can't, then redeem them in your heart. Absolute love. God, I've had close friends that, for bizarre reasons I've never even known, sometimes it disappeared. They went on their merry way. They got into other relations, even other religions sometimes. I've known people that were close to me where all of a sudden they hooked into another religion that was more fundamental, and therefore they could not allow themselves to communicate with me anymore. And they just disappeared. No word, just disappeared. And wow, I sat there like, wow. I don't take it personally in the sense that I love and admire that they have that other tradition. But if they wanted to talk, or if they needed to talk, or ever wanted to bounce back, bounce back in the relationship, I could easily do that. I really sometimes have felt a little hurt, shocked, or surprised, or like people feel when things happen like that. But I'm pretty happy to say that still always willing to be there, as long as there's sanity. As long as there's sanity. I can't do it if it causes harm, but as long as there's sanity. And people will sometimes pretend that they're stable. I don't mean psychologically. I mean that they're stable, meaning their agendas, their intentions, and all that are good. And then they're not, and that really gets confusing when you're already juggling difficult situations. But do your best, guys. And if in doubt, reach out to people. Go, look at the 12-step groups, codependent groups. Look on something online. Look up codependence. See if there's something that can kind of turn a light bulb on, that'll kind of just flash you into a new level of like insight. I got it. And then try something else, and so on. But align with love, align with peace. It's a drag when other things can't align with that. But err to the side of peace. I'm looking at the wall over there, which we've seen when I film with that behind my back. Got all these pictures of just beauty and peace, and you might even see them in the mirror. I don't know, but there's just a lot of things up there, and it's like, that's the life we're supposed to be living, but not just in a fantasy world of greenery, purple and blue, but inside. And to do that, I think that true friendships can help make that happen. Nothing will help that happen more than a loving, forgiving heart. I love you all, and I forgive you all. And I pray that you can do the same for me. But at the same time, loving and forgiving hearts, but at the same time, good friendships. I believe that friendships can be soul relation, soul family, even closer, tighter, and healthier than partnerships have been at times, or even family has been at times. Please know that much. I'm not saying the others can't be healthy. I'm saying that simply that even friendships, when they're real, oh my God, man, give thanks for them. Like I mentioned, the likes of Dan Millman and people like that. I haven't talked to Dan in years, just busyness and all that. But I know that I could. I know that I could call him and he would talk to me today, or honor a favor like I did with that kid, and he would still do it. There's really beautiful people, even that they don't move in with you. They're just beautiful souls, and you can count on them. So I'm very appreciative to you if you're watching. The person who said recently, is it okay if I visit this other group I'm involved with when I'm in your area? I just said, man, that is so beautiful. So give thanks to all the beautiful things that we do for each other, with each other. And the things that don't seem so beautiful, just love and forgive, okay? If I can help in any other way, you can post a question, or if you're in my Friends of Michael Mirdad Facebook page, group rather, you can go there and post questions. Just keep them as concise and clear as you can, because I can't always understand and interpret them when they're written in Facebook form, but just do the best you can to be clear in what you're asking. I'm saying that not because of you, but so that I get it and can answer properly. Okay? I pray you guys really know my heart. People don't always know my heart or your heart and so on. I know that. But things in life go on, and it reminds us, man, how important it is and how rare it is that people really do get our heart and can, just practice love and forgiveness. Any of you that I know out there who have ever been challenged, ever with me on any level, I don't care if you're high school friends, and were able to get back with me and find love again, oh my God, blessings 1,000-fold, 100,000-fold, because those are the most rare people on the planet. Those that not only have a honeymoon phase of friendships and whatever they are, to the crash, and then to the honeymoon, can return, but to 1,000-fold, meaning honeymoon's over, and then bliss. So bless you all for ever being able to find me again and connect at a deeper level, because I'm always willing to do that, okay? And I pray you can get that and practice that in your friendships. You do have to figure out how to communicate that to people, to let them know, because users will jump right back in with you when they hear, oh, you're celebrating the openness of love, and here I am, everybody. They're all going to jump all in there and try to use you again. That's not what I'm saying, and you must be careful. But to be able to communicate with people and just consistently let people know that you're shifting some things, that you're open, family members, whomever, you're open to talking if they need, but you really are set on one thing, insistent, so to speak, on one thing, which is healthiness, respect. And if we can have that, then, let them have their shot. If it spins out of control, take a breath and walk away if you have to, okay? I hope this all made sense, guys. Many blessings, and sorry about the struggles that are going on the last month, but endure. Do your best. It drives me nuts too, man, but endure, and remember, support each other through this, because, man, if we don't have support, you're going to have 100 times the job to deal with the challenge of relationships. And if you can't work with this month's challenges that have been going on, what are you going to do when things intensify even more and the world goes crazy all at once when they see the bigger shifts that are coming? Okay? I pray this has made sense. Many blessings, and thanks for listening. Bye-bye.